Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Right, hope you can hear me, hope you can see me. I'll just wait for some thumbs up from you. Oh, we've got quite a few of you here already, which is great. Loud. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Rebecca. That's perfect. Okay, I can get started then. Apologies, I was a few minutes late there. I just had to sort a food delivery, which thankfully it came before I started live with you. And those of you who watch regularly, you know, Hazel isn't a fan of delivery, so I just had to get that all done and sorted. But she's all done and quiet now, so I can put my full concentration on what I'm doing with you this afternoon, which is perfect. So we've got quite a few of you here already, which is lovely to see. Thank you for finding us on YouTube. As you know, we're only streaming to YouTube at the moment. Facebook isn't making it easy for us to stream live videos for you, but we've always streamed onto YouTube. We know that we can keep the videos here for you to refer back to, so it's a great platform for us. So if you're new here, that's great. It would be great if you could subscribe to our channel, and if you just press the little bell as well, you'll get informed every time that a new video is uploaded. So we don't want you missing out on those either. Okay, so today I'm coming to you with the second set of the composition dies. Now, I'm looking at the names that we've got here. There's lots of very familiar names, so thank you for joining me. So I'm guessing that most of you either watched Lisa on her Friday Night Live, or you've at least had up-to-date emails to let you know that the composition sets are now available individually on Lisa's website, and I've just popped a little QR code up there as well. That will take you directly to all the choices of the compositions. I'm working with set B today. I worked with set D last week, which was the zigzags and stripes, I believe it was. So today I've got set B, which is the hearts and bows, and I've got a couple of cards that I'm going to take you through today. This one is a very different one. This is quite a minimalist, sort of modern take on the card. This one is a lot more layering involved, so I have used a lot of the dies in here, and I'll be making a take on this card. Not exactly the same actually, because you sort of get the idea with where we are, but basically with the card that I'm going to sort of, hopefully if I get time, recreate with this one, all the die cuts will just sort of be rearranged, but I'll be stenciling in the background, and I'll be creating this bow, which you can see here that I've actually die cut from vellum, so it just gives it a really lovely soft look. Hi Jeanette. Oh, no worries, don't worry Jeanette, you know you can always catch up on YouTube. So who have we got? We've got Michelle from Oregon. Hello, that is a new name to me, so it's lovely to have you here. Hi Suze N from a wet Canada. Oh Lord, and expecting freezing rain later. Oh, I hope you're staying warm. We've got Gillian and Evelyn Patrician Naptabner. I recognise that name as well. And who else we had? Oh, hi Kathy. And Pat and Valerie. Hello Valerie. We had, did I see, oh, Beverly's here as well. I did see Beverly and Bonnie. Hi Bonnie. And Grandma Bonnie too. So perfect. I shall get going. Okie doke. So I thought I'd take you through a couple of different styles actually. So I thought I'd do this one first. It's very different to the concept of the compositions, but it basically is the compositions dies that I've used here. I'll just show you inside this set briefly. Again, we have our little postcard, our little inspiration postcard that Lisa has given to us with 4 designs. So we have 2 on this side, 2 on the other side, and they basically just give you a starting point on a couple of layouts using all of the die cuts. Now, not all of the designs will use all of the die cuts, and that's absolutely fine. You can take whatever elements you want from them, which is just perfect, but it does just give you that little layout as well. So if you're in a rush, you've got your your coloured cardstock to hand, you've got your die cutting machine to hand, you know that you can literally just die cut from the dies, arrange into any one of these designs that Lisa's given us, pop a sentiment on, and now away you go. Now we do have now the downloadable sentiments that complement each of these die sets, and I'm just going to pop up where is it, my little slide here, there we go. So this is everything that I'm using today. So what I will show you now this is new from even when I done my live last week. We didn't have these last week, so these were launched on Friday along with the sets now being available individually. And this is a download that you can buy direct from Lisa's shop, and there is one set per each of the composition sets here. So there is a download that complements each of the sets. Now each of the downloads will be slightly different. The one that I've downloaded here is for composition set B. You can see that here. It's very easy to print, and I was quite proud of myself this morning because I've remembered how to use my printer, and it printed for me perfectly. And I have actually printed these onto Lisa's super smooth cardstock, the cardstock that I use for my stenciling. I made sure that I got a printer that I knew that could print onto a heavier weight cardstock. Now, what these do are basically companion sets. So each of these sentiments here correspond to one of the dies that we have in the set. Now each set obviously is going to be different. You depending on the actual die sets that you buy, you download the composition sets. Now of course, if you have circle dies and you don't have the composition sets, then obviously you can still die cut these out. And if you have rectangle dies that fit these sentiments, then by all means go ahead and download these, and you can use them forever for whatever project you've got. And you are also able to buy all of the companion sets as a complete bundle, so you could buy everything all together, and again mix and match. So we can see here that we have 3 sizes of die circle sentiments, and we have 3 circle die cuts in this particular set. Now I was having a quick look at these today. I haven't actually die cut them yet because I've only just printed them out, and as you'd expect, the dies fit perfectly within each of the sized sentiments that we have here, and I've just placed them on there for you. But also what I found was really clever, you can take the largest of the dies and you can die cut the mid or the next size down. But in doing that, what you'll achieve then is the actual printed circle around the sentiment. And equally, I can take the middle size circle die and I can die cut the smallest circle sentiment. And again, I will keep that printed circle around the sentiment. So there are possibly 5 or 6 different ways that you can die cut your sentiments out depending on the look that you want. So if you want this just the sentiment without the printed line around the outside, then obviously you can do that, and you can line up your die with that printed line around the outside, which is a really good guide. Now obviously the only one it won't work with is the smallest die, because that's the smallest the smallest sentiment that we can go. So say this largest circle can either die cut your sentiment with or without the circle, depending on which size sentiment you die cut. So I thought that was really good. And also we have the long sentiments here, and that corresponds to the rectangle die that we have here. It's a plate, so you won't be able to see the sentiment through it, but if you line up the die centrally within that printed rectangle, then obviously you'll be able to die cut that, and that sentiment on the inside will be centered for you. Now if you did want to have these rectangle sentiments with the printed border around the outside, there's nothing stopping you taking a pair of scissors or going in with your trimmer and using the sentiments that way as well. So just And that's actually a good point for the whole thing. Even if you don't have the dies, there is nothing stopping you taking a pair of scissors and using these sentiments by cutting them out yourselves, or mixing and matching if you have other dies within your stash. Now, not only do we have the black and white printed ones, we have a set of 6. We also have the solid printed ones. So this is very similar to the set of like stamps, the sentiment strip stamps that Lisa has brought to us in the past. So that's a really nice way of doing that. So you've got that really bold pop of colour. Now mine isn't quite as black as they should be, purely because my printer was running out of ink. But we also have colours. Now this looks red on the screen. It's a pinky colour that I'm looking at here, but if your printer was working and it had full ink, then this would be a really vibrant cerise pink. It would be a lovely, lovely pink. So, but I'll work with this. It still looks fine for me. We also have this lovely lilac colour, which is so pretty. And I'm actually pleased my printer printed out this one perfectly. So this is pretty much a true representation of what you download. We have this lovely green, which is very reminiscent of the margarita ink that Lisa has got in her collection. And then we also have this lovely blue colour, which is a real soft blue. It's probably my favourite, but they're just really, really special, aren't they? I think these could be a game changer actually, with actually finishing off your cards to a really nice coordinated look. And the colours that Lisa have chosen very well match with the inks that she has brought out in her collections, and also cardstock that is available from Lisa, or has been available from Lisa as well. So there we are. So we have our 6 printouts there. Now, as I say, this is specific to set B because of the size of the rectangle dies. There are, I think, downloads for each of the other composition sets as well. They're all available on the website. And say we have the well, I have a little QR code to the composition dies there, but if you pop in composition companions or downloads into the search bar on Lisa's website, these will come up also. I'm going to put those to one side, and then we'll get crafting, shall we? I think. Let's get going. So hopefully I can get through these 2 cards for you today. I really like this one. I really like the way how this one came together. Now there is stenciling on there. Now, if you want to make a quick card and you don't want to do the stenciling, then obviously take any form of design paper or just plain paper. You don't have to stencil, but as I say, I just want to show you lots of different ways that we can use these composition dies as well. You know, as brilliant as they are as being really quick, super fast projects, you can really go in depth into them as well and use them for scrapbooking projects and all that sort of thing as well. So to get going with this one, I will do the stenciling first. Now I am making 5x7 cards today. The card that I've made here, or the samples that I've made here, these are just toppers actually ready to go onto an A6 card. But I'm based my demos today on 5x7 inch cards, just to show you that you can scale up. Although these sets are based for smaller projects, and you can see this would fit on an A6 card, but it looks lovely as a topper on a 5x7. But what I'll be making today will actually fill the 5x7 cards, just to show you that these die sets are quite versatile. And I'll just show you this one as well. This one is so pretty. This one works even if you make it as a like the A6 topper, but then put it onto a larger size card. I think that fits really nice. But I will be making a version of this one for a larger card. So with that in mind, I've taken a piece of Lisa's Shabby Chic design paper. So I'm stenciling straight onto design paper. You can use it as like this because this is just gorgeous as it is. But I'm going to be bringing in the Leafy Flourish stencil because I like it. This is one of my favorites, and I just wanted to add a little bit more of subtle detail into the background. Now the stenciling will be very quick because I don't want to put on too much color. I just want to have like that shabby chic look in the background. Actually, you can see here I haven't even cleaned my stencils. So we have a set of 5 stencils in this Leafy Flourish, and again I'll put up the details, the slide details are at the end of the video as well, and they will also be sitting underneath the video as reference. So I'm going to put my stencil onto the pegs, the ultimate pegs here, and I'm just going to position my design paper underneath in a way that I think suits the design sitting there. So it doesn't have to be straight, and I will want some sort of blank space on the design paper. And I'm using Arctic Frost because I really love that blue, Almond Frosting, painted eggshell, and a Mojito. So this will impart a little bit of metallic, and I don't know if you probably can't see that here, this green here. When I tilt that towards the light, it just picks up a little bit of that shine. So that's a nice little touch as well, that little bit of interest on that card. So I'm going to be stenciling really quick. I'm going to start with the painted eggshell, and I'm using a stencil brush. I'm not going to make sure that my layer of ink is even all over, and it may even turn out to be a little bit patchy, but that is the look that I'm after, because I'm working onto shabby chic paper, as you can see here, and I think that's just the style of the that would work. So I'm just going to flip the camera here. Okay, I'm just going to adjust so I can zoom in a little bit more on that for you, just so as you can see a little bit more detail. There we are, we can move that in. So you can see here it's very patchy. There's an awful lot of these stencil that I didn't mark in this central region here, but again I'm just going to go with what happens. So this is very much a quick project. So I'm going to flip you back here so you can see what I'm doing. So again, I'm going to come in just briefly with the Arctic Frost. Again, I'm just going to put enough ink down so that it actually appears on the design paper, but I'm not going to worry about a perfect blend at all. And you can see, shall I put that there? You can see that there's a tiny bit of ink, but the colours work so well together. I think that works nicely. So I might actually leave this one here, and I'm going to come back in with the painted eggshell, I think, with these colours. Just put a tiny bit of ink. Let's say I'm not being careful with this at all. And if it looks a little bit disjointed, I think that all the better for it. Now, stencil 4, there is only 5 stencils in this set, so this is very, very quick. I'm going to come in with the Almond Frosting. Now, this is for the stem work. Now, you would have probably thought that I should go green, but I didn't want to be conventional with this. It's almost like I'm creating like an oriental look. I think that's sort of what I had in mind, but all of these are my favourite colours, and I think they just work so well together. Now I'm possibly making sure that I have a little bit more coverage with the stem work here using the Almond Frosting, just so as it stands out. Look how pretty that is. Look how pretty. I love that. So also I'm going to come in with the Almond Frosting here as well. Now I haven't used the Mojito, but that is fine. So I'm going to go in with the Almond Frosting a little bit all around like that. So I'm going to have a quick look at how that's looking. That's good to me. Now what I will do with the stencil 5, before I move on, I'm just going to come in with a Mojito. So this is the metallic ink, and I'll just show you that there. Just really gently, I'm going to come in over some of these areas. So I'm going to have areas that are just going to be picked out. Now, if you look at this detail on the stencil, it's really, really fine. So I'm not going to have sort of in-your-face metallic, which would probably go against what I'm trying to achieve here. But let me just see. Yeah, really, it's really, really subtle. It absolutely is. And that to me is more than enough So I'm going to put you back on the overhead so you can see just how well that subtle stenciling works with the detailing of the background paper. Now, if you wanted to do this and make it bold and stencil it properly, then again, that would look absolutely lovely as well. It's all about preference and just playing around and seeing what is a good way to use your inks and your images. But this, I would really like that as a wallpaper for my phone background. I think that would work really nice. Oh, it really blends into the background there as well, doesn't it? Let me see. Let me pop that onto there as well for you. So you can see that I've just brought in the 5x7 card blank. I've cut myself a matten layer. So one of Lisa's, it's the Mermaid collection from the white. It's the white core collection, but it's the Mermaid pack. So that blue works really nicely with the blue that I've used in the stenciling. Now look what's arrived. My new glue. So again, this has only just turned up, so I haven't used this yet, but I filled it, and this is going to come in real handy when I start applying some of that fine detail, the smaller die cuts. So layering that onto the blue there has really made that colour pop, I think, from the background. God, how fab's that? Works really nicely. Now I must remember to put the lid on, otherwise it'll block, won't it? So that's just quickly set the background there for the card blank. Now already it has a slightly different feel. The colours are slightly different, slightly bigger than the smaller version that I've made there. Now I've already done some die cutting, so let's bring in the die set. So we have the compositions and we have the dies. So I've got two elements sitting here, the rectangles. So these are cut with this rectangle here. And this, remember, is the rectangle that you use to die cut the sentiments as well. But I've used them in a slightly different format. So I'm going to layer these two together. Now, again, this is quite a different way of using these die cuts. It's a way that I like to craft. It's a look that I really like. So we've added those two and they can layer together there. Now before I add those, I put a little element on. So this has been die cut from this rectangle here, and I've actually die cut this with vellum. You can see my fingers through this. Now this is actually blue vellum, so this is from Lisa's vellum pack, and that blue just sits really nicely under there, and it just it doesn't block the stenciling, which is what I really wanted to achieve there. Now I don't need to add too much more onto here actually. Now what I do also have, I've used the 3 circle dies here, okay, and I've laid them up like so, and I've die cut a piece of design paper from the Shabby Chic collection. So I have the 3 circles that all fit within each other, and they will sit on the front here like so. So I'm just thinking, do I stick this down now or do I not? I think I possibly will. Right, so I'm going to, I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. I'm going to attach the vellum. So you can see, oh, excuse me, I did sneeze. Oh dear. Okay, that's out of the way. So I'm going to attach the vellum, but this is where I want to have the rectangles layered onto the card. So what I'm going to do is actually apply the glue onto the vellum underneath where these rectangles are going to be. So actually, if I layer the rectangles first, like so, it will give me the area where the glue will be hidden onto the back of the vellum, and that's the best way to attach vellum so the adhesive doesn't show. Okay, and then what I can do, I can just pick the card up I can just add a little bit of glue at the top of those rectangles there, just to secure that down at the top. And then I can add my circles there, but I'm going to add those in a second because I'm going to want the sentiment to sit on top of there. Now, before I continue, there's the little elements that are in this die set, which gives it its name, the hearts and bows. There's a little die here, can you see? Yes, that has all the little hearts on there. So I've just got a tiny bit of design paper that I cut one of my rectangles from. Instead of wasting it, okay, because I don't know, I think we're all the same, aren't we? We see a tiny little slither of design paper and you think, oh, you know, there is a use for that. Now, sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't, but I think this time I am justified in keeping this tiny little bit. So I'm going to bring in my tiny little die cutter. Okay, let's put the comments on. Hopefully you're all still with me. Okay, I'm going to put that on my plate and then I'm just going to line up. This is just big enough for me to die cut those dies or the hearts from there. Now, I will need to tape that into place because if it does move, then obviously that's not going to die cut the right place. So run that straight through there. Okay. Then I need a little pokey tool. Okay, so we have our tiny little hearts. Now, can you see these? Well, I've got lots going on my desk here, haven't I? Let me bring in on here. Okay, so we have our tiny little hearts. Now, these would be great as little shaker elements for cards as well. And obviously, they're gorgeous little embellishments for the front of the card. But just think about perhaps using them as little shaker elements as well. So we have plenty there. We have our 8. Now, that one didn't die cut properly. I don't think I need that one. Let's move that out of the way. Now, these are going to be just a very subtle accent down this little strip here. We could, of course, make them bolder, and obviously it does depend on the design of the card that you're making, but I did want these just to stay very subtle. And we can just line those up on here. Probably, yes, 5. 5's a nice number. Now, for those of you thinking that you could possibly take that little heart die, and I could have die cut that strip straight away to have those little hearts as apertures, it wouldn't actually work like that, because if I turn that die over, you can see that the way that the strip is, the hearts are running from side to side. So to have that rectangle sitting in this sort of direction on the card, I wouldn't have been able to die cut. Now, this is a very similar strip. If I wanted it running this way on the card, then obviously I could die cut that and then I could sit it horizontally and then that would work perfectly. But for, say, in this particular card, then that didn't work quite as well for me, but there is always a way round. So now what I'm just going to do, pokey tool, my nice little fine tipped glue from Lisa, and I can just glue those hearts down, and that is a nice real subtle embellishment. And it's a nice way, you not to be, if you want to add love hearts onto something, it's nice to have it quite subtle but not too gushy. Now, can I just lift that up so you can see that? There you go. Now, I do obviously have that line sitting on there, so it's a good way to line those up so they can sit. I didn't need those two there at all, so move those. Now, to finish this off, now obviously this one here, I've added just an accent of colour in the circle here, which is the same as the colour that I matte laid this onto, and then I've used vellum to stamp a sentiment and add it onto the card there. But as I say, I made this before we had the downloads available. So I'm going to bring in the downloads that we've got. And I was having a quick look before actually, and I was wondering if this lilac would work really well. Because I don't know if you're familiar with Lisa Shabby Chic papers, but there is an element of violet or lilac sitting in these papers. So I think that that would be work really nice. The green would actually work really well as well, wouldn't it? And the blue. Oh, they all would. Actually, the blue works really nicely too. But you know, I'm going to go a little bit different, and I'm going to go with the violet. We've got blue on there, so I'm going to go with the lilac this time round. I hope you agree. Hi, Rebecca. Got to go and cut your grass. Absolutely no problem, Rebecca. Go and make the most of the weather while it's suitable. I've been there plenty of times, knowing you need to make the most of that. Hi, E. Miller from Michigan. Can catch up from the beginning on replay. Absolutely, no problem at all. Okay, so I think what I'll use is one of the circle sentiments. So I can use the, which size am I going to go for? I think I might actually go for the smaller size. Now, do I want, now on this one actually, although I said on the black and white printed one, the smallest die will only print 1 sentiment for you, or die cut 1 sentiment for you. I think on the coloured ones here, we can also die cut the smallest sentiment, in which case we'd have the sentiment with a white border. But I think also we've got the opportunity to die cut in the centre of this one here. And I think I'm going to give that a go, just to have a look. Now, it does mean I'm going to have to cut into, my die cuts. This is always the hardest moment, isn't it? But obviously, we do download them to use them. There's no point keeping them. And isn't it great that once we've bought the download, then we can download these as many times as we need to. And we've got a constant supply of sentiments. So I'll bring out my little die cutting machine again. I'm going to line up my die with the coloured part of that sentiment there. And that matches up really nicely. Hold that in place, actually. Secure that in place, so I don't want that going anywhere. Yes, and let's do this. Okay, so as I say, I managed to print these onto Lisa's super smooth cardstock, which is 300 GSM. So I know that that will die cut perfectly. Oh, look at that. Let me just show you. Look at that. How perfect is that little, let me take away that scruffy cutting plate for you. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? That fitted perfectly. Now, let me take off that die and I'll show you actually what clearance that you have on here. Let me just show you that section that I've die cut. Let me bring that one in. And you can see that there's still a little bit of lilac around the outside. So you have that tiny little bit of wiggle room just to get that die placement correct. Now, oh, I'm super chuffed with that. That is going to look so pretty on there. So now I can just attach that onto my card, and I shall glue those down in a bit actually, and I shall get onto the next card for you. But just how pretty, just how easy is it to put a sentiment onto the card, and it looks in place, obviously, because we've used the dies from the set, so it looks like it should be there. And I think that there is something special in that. There's something special in bringing a card together with elements that are 100%, you know, designed together. You know, it looks coordinated, it looks meant to be, and it'll be ideal for your scrapbooking as well. So I'm just going to glue these into place while I'm here. Actually, I'm loving these glue pens as well. I didn't think I would. No, I knew that I would. Obviously, everything that Lisa creates is always creative for a reason and always fit for purpose. But to actually have them in your hand and use them is perfect. So I'm going to have a little 3D foam piece. And this will be my only dimensional element on the card. And there we are. I should pop that into the centre. There we go. I love that. Okay, so we have our first card made, a variation of the one that I have here. So you can see we have the 5x7 size, and proportions work perfectly, and we have the A6 size as well. Again, so don't worry about upscaling or even downscaling the size of the project that you're making. These die sets work perfectly with that. So card one, let's move back to that bigger screen. So let's see if we can fit in another card with a different composition, you know. So we're going to go for a version of this card here. I'm going to bring in the stencil machine, the ultimate. Honestly, I've been doing this long enough. Okay, so let's see. You're using the fundamentals with the downloads. Oh, perfect, Chris. Oh, where are we going? Actually, yes, the fundamentals are ideal. Fundamental dies are actually ideal to mix and match in with your compositions as well. If you were taking elements out of the composition, say if you just wanted to take the bow and the circles and then use them with some of the elements and change it into an octagonal card, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? What you just need to make sure that all the right dies go back into all the right packages afterwards, is what I would say. But yeah, you can have a huge amount of fun, and there's so many different combinations to make. Now again, I'm making a 5x7 card. So I'll just show you briefly. This is the just short of 5x7, just so it layers nicely. So this is 4 3/4 wide by 6.5 inches. So this will definitely fit onto your 5x7. I'm going to create a subtle detail in the background. Now, I'm not using the stencil that I've used here because this is the Gerbera Garden, which was exclusive to the US. I couldn't help myself. So I'm going to use a stencil that is available here. I'm going to use the Floribunda background layering stencils. Now, there isn't an embossing fold. There is an embossing folder available with this as well. I'm not sure if that's available, but the stencils are definitely available. And again, what I want to do is just create a background here that is quite subtle in the background. I'm not going to be going all out to create perfect blends and perfect colour coverage. So let me just move my inks out of the way. What I do want is just to have a really subtle colour in the background, almost a shabby chic sort of effect. Excuse the noise, I'm just moving my inks and my brushes about. So for this set, I'm using Sugar Candy, Juicy Pineapple, Woodland Moss, and I will be using a little bit of the Mojito again, which is the metallic green, just to add just that little bit of shine in the background there, which I think is just nice. Oh. There we go. Pen's got stuck there. So again, I'm going to stencil this really quickly. And I'm going to use a mixture of colours because I want, like you can see here, we've got the pinks, the blues and the yellows. And, oh, the blue, that's what we need. I need to bring in the Arctic Frost. I love that blue. So I'm just going to very briefly and very quickly there we are. Very quickly just stencil the colour into the background. What I don't want is a bold pop of colour. I really want to just keep this as subtle as I can. So you can see there that it's not perfect stenciling in the slightest. So this is the yellow. So I'm going to come over again, so create that detail there. And what I wanted to do was choose a stencil that had plenty of green on it as well, just so as I can get that layering in. So I'm going to do this very quickly. Okay. So we have the larger colours. Now what I'm going to make sure I do is not put the two colours next to each other. So on the stencil up here, I don't think I need that one in particular. So I want pink. No, I don't. I want yellow to go in there. So what I really want to create is just a nice sort of spring look and really pretty colours going in. So that's why I want to keep it nice and pale, nice and fresh. That's the colours I'm looking for. So I'm just making sure that I'm using the right inks in the right area. So I'm going to come in with that little bit of pink there, a bit of pink up there. I don't think I need these higher ones, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to worry about the colours that we have there. Now you can see a tiny little bit of detail there. I'm going to perhaps put a little bit of detail in the centre, just so that it's a hint of it being a rose, like so. There we are, that's better. Now I can come in with some greens, and again what I want to do is just go subtle with the green. And what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to use a small amount of Woodland Moss. There we are. So what I'm doing is conscious that I'm not overloading with ink and colour. So, so I'm going to put a little bit of Woodland Moss on there. Let's just have a little look. Yeah, there we are. That is really, really subtle. And then the next layer, I'm going to come in with the Mojito. So we're going to have that metallic element, but just that contrast in green colour as well. And because these elements are really small, I think I can add more ink than I have been doing. Okay. And there as well. Let's do that really quickly. Now, of course, I'm stenciling my background. I can't help myself when it comes to creating card release. If I've got a bit of ink on the card, then my brain is all set to sort, and that sort of sets the tone for me when I'm creating. I do need to have a bit of ink and a bit of stenciling going on, I think. So, but if, again, as I said before, if you just want a quick card, or if you have reams and reams of design paper, that will be ideal to be using as well. So we have a last stencil here that is actually going to add some detail into those flowers. I don't actually think I need it. I'm going to leave that off because that is just really subtle in the background. Now, if I show you the design here, that's what the design looks like. So if you were to go bold, you could make this look very different. But what I want to have is this like old, it's like an old really fresh tea party sort of linen sort of look. It's just a really fresh look, and actually I've managed to achieve that with both of these different styles here with the colours that I've used. So that's the look that I was after. Okay. And it just goes to show actually how versatile Lisa's stencils are. I mean, as I say, I could have gone to town. This stencil is called the Floribunda background, so it's basically roses. I could have really sort of gone to town and make them look very rose-like, with reds or oranges or, you know, heavy yellows. It would look totally different. But equally, you can make it look as soft as you like as well. So everything of Lisa's works all together. You know, there is a way to make everything work. So what I'm going to do now, I've cut myself a matten layer. It's a piece of really pale grey, again from Lisa's White Core collection. It's the palest of greys, and you can just about see that colour contrast against the white there. So that's the matten layer to go onto the 5x7 card. Hazel's seen something in the background. Let me just close the door actually. You'll still hear her, but she won't be as loud. Okay, so I'm going to put my matten layer directly onto my card blank. So that gives me that nice border. Now this piece that I've just stenciled onto is going to layer directly on top of that also. But you will see that it's come up a little bit short. Don't worry about that. That was intentional. So I'm going to layer that onto the card as well. Now, at the moment, you'll be thinking, well, I haven't used any elements from the composition die set. I'm just setting the scene. So that is the background of my card, which actually in itself is really pretty. So now I can come on to the elements from the composition set here. So we have the largest die of the set, which is what these two pieces are actually die cut from here, that I've sort of layered on top of each other. It almost gives me that envelope look on the top there, which is sort of what's inspired this card in particular, so that I've gone off on a different tangent to what I've created here. And we've still got the stitching. We have a straight cut with two squared off corners, and then we have two rounded corners on this side. So there's a nice contrast. And on this card, I die cut the piece and stenciled onto that itself. But again, I'm just going to show you a different way to actually compose the cards. And I think it is a different way to the postcard that Lisa has given us also. So I'm going to pop that there. Now I'm keeping the rest of these, this design plain. You don't have to. You can stencil onto it, or you can use design paper. But I'm using a textured cardstock, so it's got that interest there. So I've sat that onto the top of my card blank. So that in itself just even looks really pretty, I think. Now we have also this scalloped element, which oh, you hear my tummy rumbling there. Okay, so we have, let me show you the postcard here. So we have the scalloped element here, which can be used down the side as I've done here with the yellow, but you can also use it to embellish the rectangle section. So you have the two scalloped edges on either side as well. So that's a different use for it. But I have the blue, and I'm actually going to use that along this edge here. So there's so many different ways. I mean, I could make you a different video each week using these, and I could come up with a different idea. So it will be lovely to see that when you all start receiving yours and you start creating and you start sharing into the group, it'll be lovely to see what you will come up with as well. Because as I say, there are so many different ways of using this, and everyone is going to have their own take on it. Which is always brilliant with anything that Lisa comes out with. But I think in particular, these sets are really going to sort of capture your imagination. Now, what I've just done with that scallop there, I've just sat that just under the lip of that pink section there. So you can see that just poking out from underneath. So say I'm setting the scene for the background here. This is die cut from our section, our little rectangle, like so. And we have a little lemon border that is going to sit there as well. So what I'm thinking of doing, there's a couple of different ways I'm going to do this, and what I'm going to do is choose a sentiment in a second, and then I'll figure out where I want to go with the sort of how I finish this off. Now what I do want to do is die cut and show you how this little bow comes together actually. So I've got this little bow here, and you can see you can actually see the design through the bow, but this is actually sort of layered with vellum. And now I've die cut the bow already, the solid section of the bow with vellum. This is again from Lisa's set, so this is a lemon vellum. I used a clear one here. So you would use this die to die cut the solid bow. It doesn't have to be from vellum, obviously it can be from a more solid piece of cardstock or a design paper. And then you have your second bow die, and this is what will give you the detail that can sit over the top. Now I couldn't decide whether I wanted the bow cut from white or from lemon. Now the one that I actually done here was I over stenciled this design, and then I die cut the bow from the piece that I stenciled, so you actually have some coloured detailing around the outside of this one, which I thought was really nice as well. But I didn't actually have anything that I'd over stenciled this time, so I'm going to go either with the lemon or the white. I think I might die cut the both and just have a little look. Actually, I wonder, let's do that quickly. I think it's going to depend actually on what sentiment I use as well. So let's move that out of the way. And I die cut it again from white. We have a nice white bow as well. Actually, I'm thinking the yellow might be the way to go. Oops, excuse me, Lily Baby. Let's take that off of there. Actually, before I move that on as well, there is a tiny little die here. If I show you this bow, we have that little lemon centre in the centre there, which is like the wraparound which holds the bow, isn't it? That is actually made from this tiny little die here. So this is it'd be one of those little dies you'd have to make sure that you don't lose from the set, which say it's perfect that if you do have some magnets or magnetic strips that you can use just to keep hold of those tiny little dies, and then that would be absolutely perfect. So I've die cut that from white, and I'm going to just do it in lemon as well, just so as I've got the options to choose what I want to use in a second. You could also use these as little studs as well. Imagine if you were to cut them from any of the metallic cardstock that Lisa has, and you could use them on a guy's card. Although the set isn't necessarily geared towards guys with the bows and the hearts, it doesn't mean that you can't use elements of them. So you could, like on one of these rectangles, if you'd die cut all of these little sections from like a metallic or a black and perhaps lined them all the way around, they could use as like little studs as well, couldn't they? That's me just thinking out loud. I'm sure that'd be a way that you could make that work. So let me think. What do you reckon? Do we have a yellow bow or a white bow? I don't know. I'm going to bring in the die cuts again, the downloads again, and decide what colour I'm going to use. I think actually, I think the green not necessarily. I think I might use the blue actually on this one. Yeah, I'm going to use the blue, and I'm going to get my scissors. Where are they? Okay. I'm going to die cut the rectangle one as well, just so as you can see how that works. I think I can possibly use that one on the card. So I've die cut the happy birthday. Oh, it's taken out the happy birthday there. I'm hoping this is the right size to go through my little desktop one there. Okay, so as I said before, the rectangle dies are die cut with this rectangle piece, so we can line that up with those within that rectangle. So I think just by eyeballing that and making sure that that is centered, that will give us, that's enough of a reference point. So I'm going to just secure that in place. I'm going to hope this fits on my die. Oh yes, it does, just about. Look at that. Perfect. So you can see it all happening. Don't worry about the crack. That's perfectly normal. Okie doke. So let's take away the outside there. We don't need that. There's two little release holes in the dies here that we can use to remove. There we are. Oh, look at that. That's perfect. So we have our die cut sentiment, our pre-printed one, die cut, which also has, oh, let me move on to the camera 2 for you. There you go. So we have our pre-printed sentiment, and we also have that professionally die cut with the stitching around the outside as well. So it's going to give our card a really lovely professional finish, and like so. Now let me think. Yeah, I'm going to go with the yellow. So I'm going to now attach the glue. Now we could, I think we could get away with just glue the center, a couple of little dabs of glue just here and just at the top of the tails there, and then we can layer that up with our vellum. We just marry those up and just, now you're going to probably be more adept at doing this. I'm a little bit clumsy when it comes to dies, but we just make sure they go into place like so. Okay, there we are. So we have our bow layered together. Now what we can do is add some glue to the center there. Not too much, and then we can use our pickup tool and we can add our little center. Actually, I think I'm going to go white with that one and add the center to our bow, just so that picks out. So these little sections here have got a straight edge opposite to each other, and then they have two curved edges opposite each other. Now the way that I found this works is that the straight edges, top and bottom, when you layer it onto the bow, looks more realistic. I mean, that's the way that I do that, but obviously everyone is going to have their preference. So now what we can do, we can find a way to layer these together. Now I think possibly what would be a good idea, we can layer it like this, or we can layer it like that, or we could cut out a circle sentiment and we can have that in the center as well, which I'm going to do quickly. So if you can bear with me, 2 ticks. but I did want to show you actually how those rectangle sentiments cut out as well. So I'm just going to take my sentiment again. I'm going to take a circle one. There and there. And I won't keep you too much longer. So I'm going to have our circle sentiment. I'm going to cut that a little bit larger this time round, I think. I'm going to pop that into place. So I've used the middle-sized die this time round. So the circle sentiment is going to have a white border around the outside this time. It's nice actually that we've got those options. It's something so simple, but it works, doesn't it? So we can, there we are. That was the look that I was after. Move that to one side. There we go. So we have, oh, let me move that onto there for you. So we have our layered elements with a card. We can pop the bow there, which is a vellum, so that is like see-through, which is, I think, gives a really nice effect. We can just shape that a little bit. We can use a little bit of adhesive in the middle and just add that into the card as well. So it's a totally different way of using the layers of compositions set B. Let's move those out of the way. So this larger card inspired by this smaller one here, and then we have these two cards, again different sizes, slightly different sentiments on there, but you can just see how versatile the composition dies really are. They look very different, don't they? Very different completely. If you actually done this one, just one last thing before I go, if you actually rearrange this a little bit, you could actually use this as an envelope. So you could make a little pocket. So you could use this pink section. If you just glued it at the top and perhaps scored it, you could use that as a an opening to a little pocket, and you could perhaps pop a little message or a little gift note or something on the inside of that as well. I think that might be a really nice idea. So I'll be back from cutting the grass, Becca. Oh, that was super quick. Or am I still chatting away, taking too long? I wish my grass was that quick to cut. Okie dokie. So I leave that with you there today. As I say, I could go on and on and on. Oh, everybody agreed with the yellow bow. Sorry, I've just looked up to see that now. Perfect. Oh, Beverly, that's a shame. You've got a headache. Oh, I know. Yeah, I definitely know about bad headaches. That isn't fun at all. I hope you get better soon. Go and find a nice, dark, quiet room somewhere. Okay, so, oh, hi, Marion. No worries. You can catch up on YouTube. Found new compositions are due this week. Oh, you'll have fun with those too, Janice. Make sure, or remember, if you really want to, of course, you don't have to, but if you can share into the group with what you make, that'd be great. So I'll leave that with you there today. Thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. I'll be back with you next week. And enjoy your crafting, everyone. Thanks for your company. Take care.